Hello, let me get the panelists. We have the panelists for this. I want to. Hi. Good. Now I can. We are in the same panel. Oh, this is from Panama. Brazil. Oh, Brazil. Oh, sure. Too much Portuguese. There's one more. This Panama. That's all. Yeah, from this is Camera, Musa Camera, Gerardin, Brazil, and MasterCard. I think we don't have Panama. Anyway, maybe it was to be confirmed, but okay. Thank you very much. I hope you're not too tired. As soon as you get settled, I want us to take on this session, which is on Maya Declaration, what is the progress to date. Thank you very much. I think we are getting settled. Yes. Okay. We are ready to start. Is everybody? Or maybe I can stand there. Okay. Let me say that this is like a summary of what we have covered the whole week. We have been here since Tuesday. We've been talking about financial inclusion. We are sure, and it has been demonstrated to us that financial inclusion, and especially for AFI network, has made the difference. It has been appreciated across the globe, and we have listened to so many presenters. Second, of course, we have seen presentations, and we have listened to presentations that there are positive benefits from financial inclusion, especially from a public policy point of view. And this is a public platform that has become very, very important. And presentation even from the bankers themselves have shown that banks create capacity for the future. And this is something that has been presented even yesterday, including today. And third, of course, we do know that AFI has coordinated this framework using the Maya Declaration. And to date, and this session is committed to actually looking into what is the progress. We can actually summarize the progress up to date, and where are we on Maya Declaration, and where are we in terms of coming up with the Maya commitments that are measurable to produce the financial outcomes that are consistent with our national strategies. Several countries talked about their national strategies. And for us, we even had some reference to Findex data. And I'm happy that we have also the World Bank in the panel. Gloria Gradorin will talk about it. And the most important thing about the Findex data and the results that were produced by the Findex data showed that actually 25 countries were driving financial inclusion through digital finance. And that for us is very, very important because they also happen to be members of AFI, and they are also members who have committed to Maya Declaration. They have some Maya commitments. And so we know that from this Findex data, one of the conclusions was that digital finance was making the difference. And secondly, we know that from our write-ups, 70% of the Maya Declaration targets have been achieved, and those Maya commitments have been made easier by digital finance. But finally, and more important, we have so far, since 2011, when Maya Declaration was started by AFI Network, we have enough data points and even Maya commitments across countries and across time for us to come up with, or even produce some, should I say, empirical regularities that can help us make some conclusions. So we do know that We have had, like, for example, Maya Declaration, we have had like 53 commitments since 2011. Out of those, 39 specific commitments on digital finance have been achieved, and 70% of these commitments have been achieved, I think, in totality, and 40% are also in the digital finance. We look at it in terms of coordinating the AFI activities. It's like a corrective action process. I think the panel here today, even though we're going to rely on maybe members to talk about progress, the most important thing is actually to have a team here. I'm going to introduce them in a minute, that is going to focus on Maya Declaration and financial inclusion broadly, and what we have, should I say, realized by using the technological platform that has been available to the financial system. But the most important question for the future is how to push the Maya Declaration, and especially push for stronger partnership, push for stronger synergies with the private sector, and even other global initiatives. For this, we believe that we can make a difference in terms of further enhancement of financial inclusion, knowing the benefits that we have, of course, seen across the countries and even across regions. We have 4 panelists. Start with the guy next to me is Musa Kamara from the Central Bank of Liberia. We have, I think Panama is the one that didn't show up. So we have Gloria Grandorin from the World Bank. And we have Evira, that is Ventura from the Central Bank of Brazil. And we have Daniel from MasterCard. I think the most important thing is actually to understand from their point of view what Maya Declaration has done, but more importantly is to give us a sense in terms of how we can strengthen this partnership through the institutions, the private sector, our own institutions that have joined AFI Network in these commitments. Notice that we came up with commitments, but also argued that they need to be measurable so that they can see we can show some output. That's why I'm actually saying we have adequate data points across time and across countries to come up with empirical regularities, and we would like to see how we can strengthen that in future. So in a sense, I'll leave it to the panel. I'll give them a few minutes maybe to introduce the subject matter, and once that is done, then we can go into question and answer. Once we are finished with this session, then we can go into individual countries and ask ourselves the kind of commitments that we can make. But that will wait until we listen to the panelists. Can I start with Musa? Let me be more organized. Let me start with the private sector, then come to the regulators, and finish with the World Bank, so that we can see whether we're coming to, should I say, a concrete position in terms of what we need to talk about. Daniel.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Ndugu. My name is Daniel Monahan from MasterCard. I head up the financial inclusion for international markets in MasterCard. That's international market is the whole world outside of US and Canada, the way we define it. So my role is to coordinate financial inclusion across the organization. And also, I run the Sub-Saharan Africa business for MasterCard. Now, regarding the Maya Declaration, the reason MasterCard is involved in this is that the objective of that Maya Declaration mirrors exactly our objective for financial inclusion as a subset of inclusive growth. So MasterCard has a Center for Inclusive Growth because we believe that business cannot continue to succeed in a failing world. The rising tide that we see in GDP numbers, very aggressive GDP numbers in Sub-Saharan Africa, has to reflect across the board for development to be sustainable. And that's why MasterCard has defined financial inclusion as one of our corporate objectives to drive in countries around the world. So it's this synergy of objectives between AFI members, as expressed in the Maya Declaration, and MasterCard that's made us be partners with AFI on especially the private partner dialogue forum. So in terms of how we see ourselves as working with AFI members in the achievement of the Maya Declaration, there is a slew of examples to pull from, but suffice it to say this, before I go into specific examples, that in terms of financial inclusion, the way we see it in our organization is that you're either serving the citizens, because financial service is about delivery service to the citizens. It's either you're serving the citizens or you're serving the people serving those that are serving the citizens. So MasterCard sees itself in the second light. We are enablers and facilitators and aggregators of technology that to support organizations and regulators that have direct contact and relationship with the citizens of each country. So, and how does it manifest? It manifests in various ways. From the time Professor Dugu was central bank governor in Kenya, he wanted to build a policy for payments. And MasterCard was able to come in through MasterCard Advisors, which is the largest payment consulting group in the world, to help Kenya develop a non-partisan policy. So it had nothing to do with MasterCard as a business. It was focused exclusively on the mandates of the central bank and on the tenets of the delivery of the consulting work. And we helped the central bank develop that payment policy, which is right now is in advanced stages of implementation as we speak. Now, not all of the recommendations actually even favor us as a business, but in that assignment, we were working directly with the Central Bank of Kenya, and they gave us guidelines on which we executed on, and it was well received. The World Bank was also, it was a World Bank funded project and was very well received there. In terms of the scale, because scale is important when you're talking of financial inclusion. I mean, banking is over 100 years old in sub-Saharan Africa, and yet, going by World Bank Findex numbers, only 29% of adults are banked. So if we continue this way, it's going to take us at least 300 years to get to full banking across the continent. But we don't have 300 years. I have a very short time and target to achieve this. And so large-scale conversion of the unbanked population into the banking system is very important. And that was what we did in Nigeria, working with the government of Nigeria, who, for what I call a late mover advantage, were setting up an ID system. And because they were coming in late in the game, they decided to have the best technology, EMV, chip, and PIN, all by themselves. And it got to a point and they said they wanted to make it a financial inclusion play. And they looked for a partner to deliver that to them. And after a selection process, we got that opportunity. And it cost the Nigerian government $0. So this is not a government contract where MasterCard is making a boatload of money. No, we saw it as an avenue to deploy our technology to enable that country not just ID its people, but potentially issue avenues to bank accounts to over 100 million people in that country. So that's a very exciting thing for us. And we're also seeing similar countries in Africa where in different discussions, in order to help, because they've seen that that's a way for them to achieve their Maya Declaration commitment, and we're engaging with them to do so. Also on the mobile side, because MasterCard also were in the mobile space, a card, the way I like to say it is that a card is in our name, but it's not necessarily in our future. So it's electronic payment and digital payment. That's what we're into. The card is a form factor. A mobile phone device may also be another form factor. So in Zimbabwe, where we have Stewart Bank, who was partnering with EcoCash, delivering mobile financial payment, and that's the largest mobile financial services in that country, but they wanted to expand into open loop. And after an RFE process, we were chosen. And to cut a long story short, we've issued hundreds of thousands of cards attached to that mobile wallet so that the consumers now have a choice. So that when they get to a location where they can use a mobile phone, they use that to pay. When they travel across the border, for example, to Zambia, to South Africa, many of them do, they're able to spend from that mobile wallet using their MasterCard. When they get to an ATM and they decide to use their card, it happens. Even domestically. So we see a lot of use cases for this. We've seen parents giving that card to their wards who are schooling outside of the country, and they're funding it through their mobile wallet. So it's expanding the use cases for mobile financial services. And we talked about, Mr. Moira talked about this morning about not just getting access, but usage. So what we're also saying is that the Maya Declaration is not only about access, it's about usage. And when we give opportunities to increase the use cases for such solutions, the traction is there, the stickiness is there, and the value is seen in the society. So I'd like to stop there for now.
Thank you, Daniel. I think those are very, very important areas in terms of synergies, aggregators of technology, very, very important. Specific intervention when you are called upon to do that. And finally, to even deploy technology so that you increase the mass market. That's where usage comes in. And obviously, you are right. Banks are still restricted. But if banks use the platform, then obviously what you're really saying is that you can come up with a mass market to reach out to the mass market. It's very, very important. Now, you promised me that you're going to speak in Portuguese. So this is Ventura, Madame from Brazil. It's your chance now, perhaps. Yeah.
Boa tarde a todos. Okay. É uma oportunidade importante para a gente compartilhar a experiência do Brasil em termos de parceria nacional para a inclusão financeira. Nosso entendimento é que promover a inclusão financeira em um país é uma tarefa que demanda um grande esforço e um grande comprometimento por um longo período. No caso do Brasil, um país tão grande, com 200 milhões de pessoas, esse esforço tem sido muito intenso, muito intensivo. A ideia é que o governo sozinho não pode fazer tudo pela inclusão financeira, não é possível. Então, é preciso, sim, envolver e alinhar os interesses com outras organizações do governo e com a iniciativa privada, principalmente. E nós temos tentado fazer isso para conseguir uma efetiva e tempestiva promoção da inclusão financeira no Brasil. Foi neste sentido que, em 2011, já no esteio da Parceria Global para a Inclusão Financeira, em 2011, nós lançamos a Parceria Nacional para a Inclusão Financeira. Essa parceria busca unir em rede atores públicos e privados engajados em ações coordenadas para a promoção da adequada inclusão financeira no Brasil. Representa, então, um espaço de atuação colaborativa e troca de experiências entre os vários atores institucionais envolvidos, sejam públicos, privados ou da sociedade civil, interligando, assim, conhecimentos e unindo esforços. Com essa atuação articulada, nós acreditamos que é possível, e nós estamos verificando que é possível, sim, catalisar, aumentar os resultados das ações e a efetividade dos projetos, criando oportunidades novas e, dessa forma, alavancando a promoção da inclusão financeira. O papel do Banco Central do Brasil, como fomentador e coordenador desse processo, tem sido um reflexo da sua experiência em articulação de parcerias, bem como do papel mesmo de regulador no sistema financeiro. É importante a credibilidade, a legitimidade, a força que o Banco Central tem entre as outras instituições, para que isso aconteça. Assim, desde 2002, o Banco Central do Brasil tem uma discussão contínua com os atores de mercado para discutir, inicialmente, eventos anuais que discutiam microcrédito, depois as microfinanças. Em 2009, coincidentemente com o início do Global Forum também, nós iniciamos o nosso fórum sobre inclusão financeira, que reúne cerca de 1.000 atores, operadores de mercado, governo, sociedade civil, para discutir os problemas, diagnosticar as fragilidades da nossa inclusão financeira e, assim, propor ações. Nós acreditamos que a educação financeira, a proteção ao consumidor de serviços financeiros e a boa regulação são pilares fundamentais para a inclusão financeira adequada às necessidades do brasileiro, em suas diferentes classes e suas diferentes regiões do Brasil. Entendemos que a inclusão financeira não é e não pode ser um fim em si mesmo, senão é um elemento fundamental para assegurar a eficiência do sistema, que é parte da missão do Banco Central. Assim, toda essa rede e todo esse envolvimento do Banco Central se orientam pelo reconhecimento de que estabilidade econômica, integridade do sistema financeiro e inclusão financeira são, ao mesmo tempo, complementares e interdependentes. Assim, da mesma forma que a parceria global, a partir do lançamento da Parceria Nacional para a Inclusão Financeira em 2011, nós lançamos, em maio de 2012, um plano de ação, o Plano de Ação para Fortalecimento do Ambiente Institucional para a Inclusão Financeira no Brasil. Foi lançado em 2012 e concluído em 2014. Foram propostas 8 ações, divididas nos eixos de regulação, diagnóstico, educação e transparência. Mas essas ações, elas não surgiram de uma forma rápida. Elas foram resultado de um esforço prévio de diagnóstico e de articulação entre os atores. E apesar deste primeiro plano estar focado em ações institucionais, que envolvem muito mais os agentes de governo, a iniciativa privada foi também envolvida nessa discussão e na definição das ações e na sua execução. Como exemplo, eu vou citar 2 exemplos. O primeiro, as empresas do setor de telecomunicações participaram conosco ativamente do diálogo que definiu o arcabouço legal e regulatório para o desenvolvimento e disseminação segura dos arranjos de pagamento no país, o pagamento móvel. Eu depois vou falar um pouco mais sobre isso. Outro exemplo frutífero da parceria com a iniciativa privada é o envolvimento das cooperativas de crédito brasileiras com o Banco Central e, mais fortemente, a partir da parceria, para aperfeiçoamento do marco regulatório. É um processo que já tem 15 anos, mas, durante o plano de ação, conseguimos diversos avanços. Eu vou destacar um avanço que é o Fundo Garantidor do Cooperativismo de Crédito. Até então, o cliente de uma cooperativa de crédito, no Brasil elas são fortes, elas são mais de 1.000 cooperativas, ele não era garantido como cliente das instituições financeiras. A partir da criação desse Fundo Nacional do Cooperativismo de Crédito, o cliente da cooperativa é também, o cooperado é também assegurado por um fundo garantidor, que nós consideramos que dá mais tranquilidade e mais possibilidade de crescimento para o segmento de cooperativas de crédito, que acreditamos que é um segmento importantíssimo, no caso do Brasil, para a inclusão financeira de nossa população. E agora, o que nós vamos fazer? Eu contei para vocês que terminamos um plano o ano passado. Bom, a partir de agora, com um ambiente institucional já mais maduro em relação à inclusão financeira, nós esperamos envolver formalmente o setor privado por meio do estabelecimento de um novo plano de ação centrado em metas relacionadas à qualidade da inclusão financeira e à evolução dos indicadores de inclusão e educação financeira da população brasileira. Nós pretendemos lançar no final do ano, no primeiro Fórum de Cidadania Financeira, em novembro, um novo plano de ação que agora sim envolva metas com a iniciativa privada e muito alinhado também à Declaração Maia e ao Acordo de Maputo, porque o microempreendedor é um público-alvo importante para o Banco Central, para o Brasil. A ideia, então, é que o plano foque a cidadania financeira, que é um conceito que envolve não só os aspectos de acesso e uso de serviços financeiros, mas também da educação financeira e da proteção aos consumidores de serviços financeiros. Algumas metas serão relacionadas a públicos específicos, como eu já mencionei, os microempreendedores individuais, que no Brasil já chegam a 5 milhões de pessoas, e também a população de baixa renda. O cadastro único dos programas de transferência de renda no país chegam a 22 milhões de pessoas. Então, nós queremos ter ações específicas para esse grupo populacional. Os grupos temáticos do Plano de Ação e do Fórum de Cidadania serão a inclusão financeira de pequenos negócios, são 4, o relacionamento do cidadão com o sistema financeiro, as questões do relacionamento dos clientes com os bancos, suitability, transparência. O terceiro, o cidadão e o bem-estar financeiro, que medidas podemos estabelecer, que medidas podemos ter para mensurar o bem-estar financeiro. E, por último, a cidadania financeira e a vulnerabilidade. Quais são os grupos vulneráveis que merecem uma atenção especial desse novo plano de ação que envolve a iniciativa privada? Para isso, nós já começamos os trabalhos, várias reuniões, oficinas, workshops com integrantes do mercado, para a gente juntos desenhar essa meta e as ações. Finalizando, a minha sugestão, ou meus pontos que eu trago para os colegas dos outros países que participam da AF, é que, de acordo com a experiência do Brasil, a parceria com órgãos públicos e privados são fundamentais para o avanço da inclusão financeira. É necessário, todos nós podemos concordar com isso, que o governo esteja à frente, liderando as iniciativas. Mas é importantíssimo um alinhamento entre os interesses da iniciativa privada com os interesses do governo. O bem comum, as questões que envolvem, as discussões de conflito de interesse, elas têm que, em algum momento, elas aparecer para você traçar as ações de uma forma conjunta. Outro ponto que eu gostaria de trazer para a discussão, como um ponto de atenção, é a questão da formalização ou não da parceria ou da Estratégia Nacional de Inclusão Financeira. No Brasil, nós temos um caso muito singular, que a nossa Parceria Nacional para a Inclusão Financeira, ela não está coberta, subsidiada por uma lei. Diferentemente da Estratégia Nacional de Educação Financeira, que envolve muitos atores de governo de uma maneira mais formalizada, mais institucional, tem um modelo, então, de governança completamente diferente. Mas, assim, o meu recado, a minha ideia seria dizer que, para cada caso, para cada país, você deve avaliar a necessidade ou não de ter algum documento, alguma lei, alguma regra formal institucionalizando a parceria ou a estratégia no seu país. Obrigada.
Thank you. I was almost going to stop you because we can come to specifics of Brazil once any questions have been raised. But thank you very much, and would like to be brief so that we cover as much as possible. Musa, you want to talk about Liberia very briefly, so that we can also. What is interesting is that you can come up with strategies of actually telling us exactly how you're going to enhance the Maya Declaration, plus also the Maputo Accord, and that is what Ventura actually raised. Okay, Musa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. It's a pleasure for me to be on this panel to share the Liberian experience. Before I give highlights on where we are with our Maya Declaration updates, I would like to share some key information. The first being we just developed our new 5-year national financial inclusion strategy spanning over 2014 to 2018. Sorry. Hello? Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was saying that before I start providing details on where we are with the Maya Declaration, I just wanted to share some highlights on what has been happening in Liberia of late in terms of where we are with the situation with financial inclusion. And I was saying that we just concluded a 5-year national financial inclusion strategy, which spans over 2014 to 2018. We also commissioned a survey, financial inclusion survey, which came up with very revealing statistics. And I'd just like to provide you with the key findings from the survey. One, the survey shows that only about 28% of the adult population of Liberia, that is between 18 years and above, having an account with a formal financial institution. Two, only about 3 out of 10 adults kept a personal or joint account with a formal financial institution. The survey also shows that distance to access a financial institution was a key constraint that was also a major problem for most people accessing financial services. Having said that, I also want to mention that in terms of the Maya Declaration, we've been able to make significant progress in a number of areas. In 2013, in Malaysia, our Maya Declaration focused on 6 broad target areas. One was to upscale the use of mobile money to 50% of the adult population of the country by December 2014. We also committed to improve our regulation guidelines, mobile money guidelines at the time as well. We also committed to develop a comprehensive consumer protection regulatory framework. We also committed to upskill financial services to the rural area through the establishment of rural community financial institutions. We also committed to improving our data quality to ensure that we are able to target specific percentages in terms of improving access to financial services in the rural area. Now, in terms of update, I am pleased to say that we have been able to make significant progress in most of these areas, as you will see in the Maya Declaration update report. But I would like to just place a little emphasis on the mobile money space, which we consider to be very, very critical. In 2014, we developed a new regulation for mobile money. And what the regulations calls for is that instead of, because before we had a bank-led model, but then we saw that the bank-led model wasn't moving at the speed that we wanted to see. So we thought that there was need to upskill, to change the regulatory framework in terms of upskilling the use of mobile money. So what we did, we reviewed the guidelines and developed a new regulations where we now open the mobile money space to all players. So instead of limiting it only to the banks, anybody can now come into the mobile money space to provide mobile money services with a specific license issued by the Central Bank of Liberia. So for MNOs, they have the options of establishing an independent subsidiaries that can also obtain a license from the Central Bank to do mobile money services. And we've seen some improvement in terms of this regulatory space, because now the MNOs seems to be eager in terms of driving the process. And we think that that was a positive advancement in the mobile money space. Even though we have only one MNO currently that is in the mobile money space, but we have received interest from others that have submitted their application to the Central Bank in terms of also coming into the business of mobile money. And we think that this is a significant progress. However, we have experienced some serious challenges in terms of also making progress in this area. Most of you will recall that last year we had a very serious health emergency in the country, which was, as a result of the Ebola health emergency. And because of this, the general economic environment was impacted seriously. And as a result, we couldn't meet our target of reaching 50% of the adult population as we committed in the Maya Declaration. But notwithstanding that, we have been making significant progress. We've been engaged with the private sector, mainly the MNO, to see how we can get them involved in moving this process forward. We are also engaged with dialogue with the different multilateral institutions, including the USAID, including UNCDF, to see what sort of support they can also provide us in this space. Now, I just want to outline a few of the challenges in addition to the health emergency we have, that we feel are imposing some binding constraints in terms of making progress. One of those having to be the slow growth or the slow response of most of the MNOs and other players that we would like to see coming into this space. Like I said, we have only one MNO currently. The second one has submitted its application, which we are currently reviewing, and we hope that we can conclude on that process very quickly. But beside that, we also have challenges with issue of agency network. Most of the agents that are currently operating in the mobile money space have challenges with issue of cash management and also incentives. Because again, most of them being merchants, the challenge is that the options, they are left with two options. What do they do with the cash that they have in terms of their operations? Do they use those cash for mobile money services, or do they use them for turnover of their business? Now, that is an issue that we are still struggling to deal with. And as I also said, there's also a challenge with the cash management, because most of these agents, as they pay out cash, the question becomes, how do they replenish those cash? Because they will have to replenish those cash in order to be able to carry on their business activities. So yes, we'll be able to make significant progress in a number of areas, but there are still key challenges that we still need to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And come lastly to Gloria. Anyway, I don't need to summarize what has been said. I think we can do that at the very end.
Okay, thank you very much. And first of all, really my sincere congratulations to AFI and all the AFI members, really, because you've really successfully championed financial inclusion over these 4 years. And really the vision and efforts of this group have been really very important for financial inclusion. I think we can really say that there's been strong progress in terms of the country-led reforms that were catalyzed by the Maya Declaration commitments. And just let me give you a few numbers. According to the Global Findex data, the number of people who have at least a basic store of value transaction account have grown by 700 million between 2011, when the Findex was first done, and the results in the 2014 Findex. So today, 62% of the world adult population has an account, and that number was just 51% in 2011. So you can see really in 3 years, it's really a big advance. And I think one important point is that on this reduction in the global unbanked population, more than 85% comes from AFI member countries. And approximately 55% comes from countries who have made a Maya Declaration commitment. And this is definitely a very big accomplishment. Yet despite this progress, as we've heard in the past few days, and also the increased technical and financial resources that have been devoted to financial inclusion, much work remains to be done. And I know we've discussed the gender gaps, the rural population gaps, but I think just to give the big number out there, basically we still have about 2 billion people that have no access to any kind of formal financial account. So there's still a way to go. And it was in response to this challenge that the World Bank Group President Jim Kim, supported by a broad set of both public and private sector partners, put forward 2 years ago a call to action for universal financial access by 2020. And in my role at the World Bank as the Senior Director for the Finance and Markets Global Practice, we are the group that basically sort of has to help help all of you achieve this target. And this is a global target that complements the national level targets that Maya Declaration has so successfully inspired. The focus we're having as of now is on 25 countries, because those 25 countries actually account for almost 75% of all the unbanked. However, we also are working with all the countries that are members of the World Bank. The goal that the World Bank is sponsoring is focuses on access to basic payments and savings tools, which are critical for poverty reduction, but also they're critical to provide a gateway to full financial inclusion. So we know that access to transaction account is not enough, but it is the necessary condition to be able then to get full financial inclusion. We have been working, I say, with public and private sector partners to build a framework for financial inclusion that includes two pillars. And one is the enabling environment, the foundations for the enabling environment, and the other is what we see as catalytic drivers of access. And the three foundations we see are political commitment is the first one, and this is often through something like the Maya Declaration commitment or the national financial inclusion strategies. And on this, there was a very interesting result in Findex that the countries that actually do have a formal financial inclusion strategy, in those countries, the growth of the number of adults that had a formal account grew twice as fast as in the countries that did not have a formal financial inclusion strategy. So that shows the importance of the political commitment. The second is the legal and regulatory environment and reforms. And the third enabling environment foundation is the financial and information and communication technology. But that's not enough. Those are the foundations. But we feel there are four key drivers for access. And one is the expansion of access points. The second one is the digitally enabled financial products. And we've talked a lot about this in these past few days, the importance of digital finance. The third one that was also mentioned in this panel is the financial awareness and capability. So it's very, very important, the financial education. And finally, the one very important driver is to be able to have an opening of accounts on a large scale. We think it's very important to link it in all the countries to, for example, social transfers, wages, remittances, to find some government payments that are linked to this. So consistent with the strategy from the World Bank Group side, we have been scaling up our support to countries, to national authorities, to work specifically on these enabling foundations and on the drivers. And what we can bring is really a large range of instruments that go from helping financially, but also helping with advice, research, capacity building. And many of the authorities which have sought our support as technical partner are also working to ensure that their Maya financial inclusion commitments and targets are met in a sustainable way, but it's also responsible and timely. And as I say, for us, the timeliness is very important because the goal that we're supporting really speaks of achieving this universal financial access just in the next 4 years. And we've been working with many countries, working with about 20 countries already. And I won't give you the details now, but basically what we've been working on is specifically on supporting the efforts of designing the financial inclusion strategies. And the last two countries we've been working with are Pakistan and Peru that recently launched it, but we've been working with Mozambique also. And I think here, just the final word is that for us, what is fundamental is that the World Bank Group is there to support the national financial strategies. Financial inclusion is just going to happen if each of you really owns this goal and goes from just advocating it to implementing it, and we're there to partner with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for this intervention. I'm sorry that I rushed you, because at the dying minutes you may find that everybody tends to perhaps want to say a lot, but everybody is so tired and we cannot cover the areas we wanted to cover. I think the strategy was, first of all, to listen to the private sector. They have shown us that they can come up, they can roll out technology, they can partner with us to roll out technology. We have listened to the regulators themselves, and they have talked about even the national strategies and even the kind of commitments they have given themselves and even targets. And of course, we have listened to the World Bank, which also talks about the environment-specific tools and even the policy environment required. And I think one of the emphasis is that those countries that have a national financial inclusion strategy have actually benefited and have speeded up the outcomes. So I just wanted to perhaps stop there and then perhaps allow you to ask specific questions so that maybe my brief from the presentation from the panel is actually to tell you that you can be bold and actually come up with commitments, Maya Declaration, and even commitments along the lines of the Maya Declaration. But I'll be showing you some progress up to date, but this is not the time to do that. This is the time to ask any specific questions, elaboration you'd like the panelists to make, and then from there we can actually go into the presentation in terms of update where we are. So we are open, specific questions, comments you'd like to ask the panelists. Was it that clear? Well, I would be happy to also go with you. Perhaps I tried to summarize quite a lot, maybe. Okay. Then, if there's nothing you want to add, maybe I'll give a minute each if you have anything that you would like to summarize from yes, in 1 minute. We'll start with Daniel again. Maybe so that you can help, if they want to make some bold commitments, that would be helpful. But the most important thing is to show that you are there for these commitments and they are working.
Absolutely. So in 1 minute, what we've seen in terms of the adoption rate is it can be very, very quick, because it's the lack of focus that was responsible for the poor adoption of banking services earlier. But now that there's a lot of focus on it, what we've seen in markets is a lot of acceleration. And in terms of usage, encouraging usage, what we encourage central bankers to do is to collaborate across the government, because as much as the central bank may be driving the financial inclusion agenda, the central bank by itself cannot, within the government, execute financial inclusion agenda at all. Just as what you see here is only one partner out of an ecosystem of private organizations that can work with you to bring financial inclusion into the fore. So what do I mean? I'll give an example. Unfortunately, I can't mention the name of the country because the president has told us that he wants to talk about this program in about a month or two when they eventually launch it. So what this country is rolling out, and this is an example of where policy precedes product deployment. The government has said, this is what we want to do. We want to offer services to our people through a particular platform. All of the cash disbursement that we do to our people, we want to turn it to electronic, and we want it to be at one single point of delivery. And they opened up an RFP. It was a public tendering process, and our organization won that mandate. And what's going to happen is that every adult in that country will get access to a bank account through that service by the government. An X percentage of the population will get funding from the government through that channel. Now, if you tell an African that there's money in this piece of sweet here, they will find a way to get it out. And that's what it is. When the money is put on that channel, for them, electronic form, they will sort it out. Forget about whether they would use it or not. You put money in it and watch them use it in a very creative way. And that's what our government has found out. And very soon you're going to hear the announcement, and that country will have 100% adoption in terms of access to financial services, and the government is ensuring usage also. But the central bank by itself could not have done that. It had to do with the collaboration across the government entities to make that work. Thank you.
Bom, gostaria de acrescentar, pelas falas, eu tive uma ideia de falar o seguinte, todos esses compromissos que assumimos na Declaração Maia, que vamos reassumir no nosso plano de ação, eles parecem ser contínuos, né? Porque a gente dá saltos, eu estou lembrando aqui do que eu já citei, que é o nosso arcabouço legal e regulatório para os arranjos de pagamentos, para o mobile payment. Isso foi feito no Brasil, mas há que se fazer muito mais. Agora, a implementação, o monitoramento, o acompanhamento desse mercado, assim na área de mobile, assim também na área de educação financeira. Grandes passos já foram dados, mas é preciso continuar, é preciso incrementando, é preciso ir aprimorando para se chegar na população como um todo, né? Então, assim, eu acho muito interessante que a Declaração Maia ela impulsione, por meio de suas diretrizes, alguns assuntos, alguns temas em cada país, e o trabalho do Banco Mundial também é importantíssimo, no sentido de alavancar cada vez mais esse interesse, acho que isso é importante. E, no caso do Brasil, nosso plano de ação, nosso novo plano de ação vai estar alinhado com a Declaração Maia e com o Acordo de Maputo, e por isso que, como eu já falei, vamos ter uma ação específica para os microempreendedores individuais. Obrigada.
Thank you. Maybe to reiterate three key points that I'd like to leave with you, and I think the first one is this point that now it's the time to implement. That I think now there is really a clear understanding from everyone at the global level, the national level, how important financial inclusion is for growth, for development. So it's really time to move to the implementation phase. The second one is the point we're making, and that's why the help given by YAF is so important. The fact that these reforms, the working towards financial inclusion has to be country-led. And the third one is really that at the same time, this is a huge challenge, and that therefore, there's members of the global community, World Bank Group, but then together with other public institutions and the private sector that are there to then support these country-led reforms.
Thank you. Just to add to what everyone else has said, just to add to what everyone else has said, I think the issue of implementation of Maya Declaration, while it is true that it's being championed by the central bank, I think it's important that the government, national government, also has a stake to play here in terms of the realization of the Maya commitment, because this is a national commitment, and the government has to play a role. It cannot be left to the central bank alone. In addition to that, I also think that the private sector can be a major player in this regard, because making a commitment is one thing, developing the policy is another, developing the regulation is another, but how do you get your target met? And you can only do that in partnership with the private sector. So I think that is very, very critical. So we need a government, we need the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I don't want to summarize because some of the points that are coming up are quite rich. What Daniel started by saying is that he didn't tell us which country, but he said they will announce once the results are already on the ground, isn't it? It's a continuous process. It means that most of the countries will learn from the examples from that country. And I think, Ventura, you are saying that it's a continuous process. Even the commitments that we make, the Maya Declaration and even commitments we make are continuous. I can tell you that we learned from Brazil in terms of agency banking. To date, we have maybe 10 times more bank agents than bank branches, than bank outlets. And obviously, you can see that a combination of agency banking and mobile phone financial services is really transformative, and you can see what is really happening. And again, from the World Bank, we are very happy that it is the whole idea of specific tools that can be used in the policy environment. Financial reforms have followed because there is a lot of pressure for this Maya Declaration, Maya commitments to actually take place. Central banks commit on the basis that there is a national strategy. They are actually implementing a national strategy. And that's why it becomes very, very important so that we see the synergies. And I think the panelists have really talked about the synergies in terms of how we look at Maya Declaration in future. And even when we are trying to commit, we are bold enough to commit because we know that it has worked. There are private sector willing to support you in terms of technology and innovation. And of course, there are national priorities or national strategies that are there to be implemented, and you find that it's much easier. And from the global perspectives, we have heard about universal financial access 2020 and how it is going to gel with what the AFI network has been doing with Maya Declaration is going to be very, very important, so that we keep updating ourselves from year to year as we meet here and make commitments, and also assess how those commitments have worked. So let me perhaps thank the panelists. I'm very happy that we have come this far. I'm very happy that there are no points of disagreement. They are all points of convergence. So let's give them an applause. Thank you very much. I think what I was given to do again after all that is actually just to give you a quick update in terms of where we are on the commitments that have been made and what difference they have made. What difference has come with the Maya commitments and the Maya Declaration commitments. I don't know, should I go through the slides, or then I will also mention something else. How do I get to the slides? I can't move them. Do I move them? Thank you. Sorry for that. I just wanted to just give some quick highlights from when we started the Maya Declaration in 2011 when we met in Riviera Maya. We came up with some commitments, and then 18 commitments were made. You can see how it has progressively grown. Commitments between 2011 and 2014 stand at 54. These commitments are various. Remember, we even came to the following year, we argued that those commitments must be quantifiable. They are measurable. That is, we can say at any point of in time what has happened and what has been achieved with those commitments. The next one is actually to show the period. The AFI members in 2011 agreed on the Maya Declaration. We went on and maybe we had a Sasana Accord, and we strengthened the quantification of this in 2012, and we have seen the difference in 2013 from Sasana Accord. There was quite a jump in terms of commitments from 16 to 27. But the most important thing is that we need to measure progress. When we measure progress, we are using a common framework, and we are also trying to make sure that existing commitments are actively on the data, active in terms of data platform, so that you can actually make an assessment, your own respective countries in terms of reporting framework. And so we have been encouraged this far. But the most important thing is also to look at 2015. Everybody committed yesterday when this issue came up, no, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, in terms of strengthening the Maya commitments through the Maputo Accord. And here, what we added was an assessment in terms of what we want to do or to make commitments in terms of SME finance. And I think this has been well taken. You can see each region is reported in terms of how much commitments, how many countries gave the commitments or give should I say, accepted to these modifications, and they are going to give a commitments based on the SME finance. Sub-Saharan Africa leading the way, Latin America, Asia, Pacific, and the Middle East. And I'm going to show you the specific countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, starting with Lesotho, Zambia, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, and then we have Congo, BCIO, Bank of Ghana. And then we have Madagascar, Burundi, Senegal, and even National Bank of Rwanda. In Latin American countries, we have El Salvador, Costa Rica, Central Bank of Suriname, Brazil, Haiti, Paraguay, and Peru. In Asia, we have Nepal, we have Pakistan, Bangladesh, we have the two members from Bangladesh, MRI and Bangladesh Bank, and China Regulatory Commission. In the Middle East, we have Palestine, the Bank of Maghreb. Pacific Islands, we have Fiji, Timor-Leste, Tonga, Vanuatu, and in Europe we have Central Bank of Russia. Now, the basic idea that's where we are. The basic idea is that from what we have listened, we'd like to see what kind of actions we would like to take. We want to make sure that we commit ourselves in terms of the Maya declarations that we provided, but also to strengthen the Maya declaration is actually to come up with what we committed ourselves as Maputo Accord. The most important thing is actually to give ourselves some targets that are measurable, that are consistent with our national financial inclusion strategy, but are also consistent with the environment that we work in. There is an endogenous demand that the kind of reforms that you want or the strategy that you want to perhaps complete, even, should I say, implement at the national level. There is an endogenous demand in terms of how the private or the financial sector would like to see. So that the demands are also from the market as well as from the regulators themselves. From what we listened, especially the private sector, and even the regulators themselves, and even multilateral institutions, you have all that it takes to actually commit. You can be bold enough to commit. You don't have a shortage of technology, and you don't have a shortage of interventions that the private sector can provide in terms of the innovations that are in the market. They're in the market, but of course, they can be, adopted. So we want to make sure that public commitment and the champions for this financial inclusion come to our rescue in terms of showing the difference. And that's why I was quoting the Findex data. That's why I'm very happy that the World Bank emphasized that if you have a national strategy, it helps you in terms of the commitments you make, because you make the commitments along the lines of your financial inclusion strategy at the national level. You make commitments in line with the kind of financial environment or financial development targets that you have given yourselves. So we are not telling you to make commitments that are beyond the achievements at the national level. And that is why we call you champions, because you already know what is your policy line, what is your development line, and we would like to make sure that it works. There's a quotation there from the governor, the former chairman of the AFI steering committee from the Bank of Philippines. And obviously, he made sure that if you come up with champions, or if making a public commitment is a means to champion financial inclusion, and if you show these champions or these commitments can work, then you become a champion in terms of financial inclusion. And he said that our commitment compels us to move beyond our introspection and individual action. And that is the encouragement we still have even today. Of course, having said that, and having shown that is where we are, we would like to make sure that those who have specific commitments can bring them to light, can declare them in public today, and those who can perhaps generate commitments in future will also have a chance to communicate to the Secretariat. But I would like, first of all, before we perhaps open up, I would like to mention, to call upon the following. From Sub-Saharan Africa, I would like to call Bank of Zambia. They had some commitments, something to say about these commitments, the Maya Declaration. No, you can say it from wherever you are, if it's possible.
Okay. Oh. Thank you, Chair. I'm here.
Where is it? Oh, yeah.
Musapenda Piri. I'm the
I thought it was that guy waking up. Sorry. I wasn't looking your direction. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Musapenda Piri. I head the Financial Sector Development Unit at the Central Bank. And perhaps I'll start by stating that in view of the importance of the financial inclusion agenda, the Bank of Zambia board decided to establish a dedicated unit for financial inclusion. And that essentially is the starting point, Chair. Bank of Zambia fully supports the Maputo Accord, and as you may be aware, we were among the first countries that did make declarations in Mexico. We strongly believe that the integration of SME finance through appropriate policies and strategies are critical. Zambia is now developing a new national financial inclusion strategy, which is expected to be implemented from 2016 onwards. The SME finance pillar will form one of the key objectives of this new strategy, because I think, as we all know, that is the engine of economic growth. Financial inclusion in Zambia has improved significantly. When we did carry out the last FinScope survey before this year, the level of access was at 37% in 2009. And we're happy to report that the FinScope 2015 findings show that access to financial services for the adult population now stands at 59%, which is above the national target of 50%. And as I conclude, Chair, I think going forward as policymakers, we need to now put in place policies that are aimed at increasing financial inclusion for specific growth sectors as opposed to just wholesale financial inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zambia. Maybe we give them a hand of applause. I would like second to call Palestine Monetary Authority from the MENA region. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we committed in my declaration to empower and enhance the capabilities of SMEs in Palestine, since the 95 of the institutions in Palestine are SMEs and the economic driven by these institutions. After that, we committed in our commitment, we conducted a conference in 2013 to empower and enhance the capabilities of SMEs in Palestine. And one of the recommendations of the conference was to establish a committee, national committee consisted from public sector and private sector and NGOs. And one of the recommendations of the committee was to give incentives to banks and microfinance institutions to extend more and more loans to SMEs. And that resulted with more than 100 million extended to SMEs in a couple of years, 2 years. Due to that, also we started, beginning of 2014, initiating a national strategy for financial inclusion, and SMEs is a significant part of financial inclusion. We committed to commit in Maputo Accord, and we hope that we will achieve our results in empowering and the capabilities of SMEs in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third one I would like to call is from Asia, Bangladesh Bank.
Thank you. We have committed Maya Declaration in last year as well. This year, we, Bangladesh Bank, Microcredit Regulatory Authority, and Ministry of Finance from Bangladesh make the following commitments to be achieved by 2016. In addition to the commitments made in AFI GPF 2014. Number one, formulation of financial inclusion strategy by individual banks and finance companies. Finance companies in Bangladesh, basically we call them non-bank financial institutions regulated by the central bank. Number two, increasing the use of bank accounts and mobile financial accounts in salary disbursements of low-income wage earners by 10% from its current level by 2016. Number three, increasing the share of bank funding in microfinance to 25% from its current level of 18% through bank MFI linkage program. The commitments made in 2014 GPF are well in track and expected to be achieved in time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bangladesh Bank, thank you very much. Then from the Pacific, the Banco Centro Timor-Leste.
Thank you, Chair. I, in fact, speak on behalf of all Pacific countries. I'm representing members of Pacific Island Regional Initiative, fully committed and support Maputo Accord, because SME finance is an important policy area and supporting access to finance for small and medium enterprises is very important. We must recognize the importance of SME finance as it plays a vital role in the achievement of our financial inclusion goals, particularly in promoting sustainable and inclusive development as well as spurring innovation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Timor-Leste. Then finally, I would like to call the Central Bank of Russia.
Thank you. Here. Yes. Dear Chairman, I'm
Oh,
here.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's quite wide.
It's okay. Yeah. So that's 1 year and a half since Russian Central Bank officially joined AFI. And also last year we committed to Maya Declaration. And since that we reached visible progress in promoting financial inclusion. We approved a plan of actions and roadmap for financial inclusion for 3 years, and also a separate roadmap for digitalization of financial markets, which is a very important priority for Bank of Russia. And I should admit that SME support and development of SME finance system is a very key priority, because SME plays a very important role in economic growth and should play even more important role in social development in Russia. So for this purpose, we have definitely supported and will support realization of Maputo Accord. It's a very important statement. We should all work together on better financial environment for SME. And the Bank of Russia, in particular, committed to develop not only microfinance for SME, but also such instruments as securitization of credit portfolios to SME, and especially development of digital financial services for small and medium-sized business, including crowdfunding, P2P lending, and also development and of penetration and increasing of penetration for MPOS acquiring for small businesses in remote areas. So it's a very important initiative. I am really happy that here in Maputo we reached this significant progress in SME financial system support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Russia. Thank you very much. Let me underline that we have come from far, and you can recall from 2011 when we came up with the Maya Declaration and paraded what we would like to achieve, and then followed it up with the accords, Sasana Accord, now Maputo Accord. It's actually to make sure that we enhance the success stories that we have seen. We know that we have the tools. We have come up with the tools. Those tools have been gathered through peer learning. Those tools have been gathered through AFI support and peer learning. And those tools have also been gathered because of the policy environment that we have come into. So essentially, even today, the emphasis is that most of the countries have actually come up with their national payments strategies and even policies. So it means that it's very, very important for us to actually say that we can be bold enough because we have the tools in our own national environments. We have the tools when we meet here in the AFI network, and we can always ask for the tools. So essentially, you can be bold. So what I would like to do is to open up now for anybody who would like to make any suggestion, any commitment, will be welcome. We'll be writing it down so that there will be a follow-up. I will start with you. This is from Pakistan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at Maputo, the Central Bank of Pakistan makes an additional commitment purely on SME front. We will enhance our SME financing, which is currently less than 6% of the total private sector credit to more than double, that is to 15% in next 5 years. So that's our additional commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's give Pakistan an applause. SME has become very important in terms of the Maputo Accord. We wanted to add in the SME finance because we have seen that even most of the presentations that have come up, even the working group, is that SME finance is critical to our financial inclusion success stories. We are open. You can also come up with comments. Yes.
I have just one comment, if you're allowed to do it. So we can see that in Maya declaration, what we are doing is making commitment for the next year only. In that case, in some cases, maybe there is some slippage. So I am wondering if there could be some option for longer term commitment, like 5 years or kind of things, perspective kind of things to be planned.
Yeah, you know, when I listened to the lady from Brazil, she said that actually when we make commitments, they are continuous. What happens is that we would like to make sure that whenever we meet at the Global Policy Forum, we truncate the time period and see how much you have achieved, the progress to date. And we want to show that that progress is actually consistent with your national plan. So essentially, it could be consistent with your national plan, that would be 5 years, but we would like to get some data points. And as I said at the very beginning, we have generated adequate data points across countries and across time, and we can come up with empirical regularities in terms of what financial inclusion is doing at our country level. So essentially, even if you make commitments, you could be making commitments for 5 years, but we would like to have them measured every year when we meet so that we can actually document what has happened. And that is the plus about it, because it's a policy environment that we are trying to improve. Yes, Rwanda.
Thank you.
Monique.
Thank you so much. I wanted really to appreciate the Maputo Accord. Actually, as a central bank in Rwanda, we've been pushing financial inclusion, but really not paying, I would say, much or focused attention to the SMEs per se. We've been looking at generally, globally. We have started really monitoring what is happening on the female space, but from now on, we are convinced that we have to do more. Of course, there are ministries that are driving this, and we said that we are going to push our commitments soon. What we pledge is to go back and mobilize the ministries in the real sector and see what is the role we can play as a central bank to really push this in partnership with the banks. So I just wanted to appreciate this spirit that is inspirational to the central banks.
Thank you very much. And that is why when we come to the forum, we would like to make sure that even the commercial banks, the private sector players come with us so that they can listen to the outcome of the policy outcomes or policy choices that central banks and national governments have made, and that is what has improved. Let me go to the last one before I say something. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Dangi Katoma from Namibia. Namibia is already working on the SME financing strategy as part of our national financial sector development strategy implementation, which we have already committed under the Maya Declaration and therefore support the Maputo Accord. Our updated commitment is that we shall therefore continue to coordinate and ensure a national consensus around specific proposed SME financing strategy. That should be aligned with the SME development policy, which is already currently under revision, and that we are committed to complete by 2016. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, there's something I was missing from my slides, and now I have seen it. It has come to me. Oh, the slides are not. I'll come to you. I'll come to you in a minute. Yeah. This is something I had missed from the slides, and that's why I was going to read it. There were new commitments coming from National Reserve Bank of Tonga. Can I have them? Yes, yes. The National Reserve Bank of Tonga. Yes. Would you like to pronounce the commitments, or would you like to announce the commitments?
No.
Okay. Then there was new commitments from the Central Bank of Suriname. Where are they?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. You want to say something?
Yes, I want to say something. I cannot really read the commitments now.
Okay.
But we have one already because
Okay.
we've already been working on it. But what is so special about our being here is that we have been a commitment of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago in the past year.
Yeah.
If you read in the 2015 Maya Declaration report, on page 46, you'll see that one of the commitments of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago was to provide assistance to us in an SME training program, because we wanted to have such a program, and we had heard that Trinidad and Tobago had performed this program successfully. And so we asked their assistance, and they provided it to us and made us their commitment. And I think it was very successful because they trained 16 staff members of the central bank and also 9 from other local stakeholders in providing a training program for SMEs. And just last week, 9 of our central bank trainers, coached by the trainers of FIDA, the Financial Inclusion Development Agency of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, they provided that training to 30 trainers of the agricultural sector. And we commit ourselves to train as many sectors as possible, so that, and we're going to train trainers for those sectors to make the program sustainable. And those trainers will provide the training to as many SMEs as possible. So that is the commitment we can make, because we've already been doing it. And I want to thank the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago very much for enabling our membership. In fact, because they invited us to the GPF in Trinidad last year, and that's where we heard about the GPF. We hadn't heard about it before. And in the process of the partnership with the Central Bank of Trinidad, I think this is a very good example of partnership. We've become a member. So thank you. Thank you, AFI, and thank you, Central Bank of Trinidad.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for appreciating the network. And finally, for new commitments, Costa Rica. You don't have to say, oh yeah. So you don't have to say anything if you are already you have already provided the new commitments. Okay. Thank you very much. I think their position is very welcome, that you have appreciated the network. You can learn from the peers, and that is why the network is there. So don't feel bold to make some commitments. I want to finish with 2 people who are raising their hands, and I want to make sure that we finish with them. Let me go to you and finish with the lady so that nobody else comes after the lady.
Thank you, Chair. This is Binod Atreya from Nepal. I would like to add 2 more commitments to our Maya Declaration that we have already. One is the The supply side of financial inclusion will be completed by 2016. The second commitment is that we want to aid that a roadmap to financial inclusion will be developed by 2016. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, those are new commitments. I'm very happy. I thought there were comments. Yes, my...
I'm Maya Abunaga from the Central Bank of Egypt. I don't know if this qualifies as a commitment, but the Central Bank of Egypt is committed to enhancing access to finance. We are planning to issue a definition during the coming year that will be recognized on the national level. It will form the base for collecting data from the banking sector on a unified basis. We are also embarking on a project to do a demand and supply data gap analysis exercise for financial inclusion.
Thank you very much, because that is going to be providing the base for the commitments that you're going to make. You have to have the numbers, and that is a very, very, very good commitment. Thank you very much. Now that the commitments are coming up, and I don't want to leave anyone with commitments hanging, we need to have them. Yes, from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Thank you. I just want to say we are a new member in terms of active participation. We have found the AFI program very inspiring, and just to commit that we are going to step up our efforts in increasing our financial inclusion. We have now started working on a national strategy, and we will be submitting our commitments to the Secretariat.
Thank you very much. Okay, yes, behind.
Okay, from the Central Bank of Nigeria, we already have a standing commitment to reducing adult financial inclusion or exclusion in Nigeria to 20% by 2020. In terms of SMEs, we didn't have that before, but we will get back to Nigeria, discuss with the governor and other stakeholders in the sector, and come out with realistic targets on reducing MSME financial exclusion in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I take it that you are going to give us some firm commitments on SME finance from Nigeria, isn't it? As soon as you get back home.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll now add that as a component of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy.
Thank you very much. Anybody I've left out? Thank you very much. I think we are very happy that we have come this far. We have tried to affirm our Maya Declaration by actually voting for Maputo Accord. And that is consistent with the synergies and enhancement we have seen so far since 2011. And I'm sure every year is going to be exciting, showing new results and showing dynamic outcomes across countries and in the AFI network. So thank you very much, and let's live up to our commitments.